It is Tuesday night, and it is the first Tuesday night after the college hockey season has ended. So that means first episode for us of, I guess, the new season for at Goal Horns and Fight Songs.
That's the off season. Well, season 4 will come when when we start. Uh, what did we do last year? I think team breakdowns, schedule and rosters were the start of the season for us last year.
Yeah, I think non-conference and then just non-conference schedule and then rosters because, well, conference we determined it's redundant to keep going over the same games again and again.
Yeah. But that'll be actually conference schedule comes out next week, so
Oh,
we'll know the conference schedule next week. But we do know that the teams will play each other. Uh, Other than Arizona State will sit out the last week of NCHC play, but the teams will still play their typical rival as they have the last few years. So we do know that's locked in, and if they played at home this year, they'll be the away team next year, and vice versa. So that much we do know as far as conference schedule goes.
and congratulations to the Denver Pioneers, the University of Denver Pioneers,
They
on
sit
their 10th national championship.
they sit alone at the top of Division One men's college hockey with 10 national championships. They were tied with Michigan. Unfortunately, Michigan decided that they did not want to play for a national title in multiple sports. I did see that they did get a national title in debate, so they still walked away with 2 national titles this year. So good for them. Um, not They did not get the hockey one though. They once again fell in the semifinals. That team is currently, I believe, being picked apart for pro contracts, as are most of the college teams. It is that time of year. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we'll start with the champions. They took home 2 trophies from the XL Energy Center this year. A few weeks ago, taking home the Frozen Faceoff Trophy, and then lifting the national title trophy. So undefeated in St. Paul this year, 4 big wins, and honestly, a lot of credit has to go to Matt Davis, who early in the year it looked like he was going to be a kind of an inconsistent goalie. He goes down with an injury. You don't know what you're going to get with Denver. I think they ran through like maybe 4 goaltenders in a year. They were so hurt for goaltenders. They had to bring in one of their USHL prospects at the class break there early in the season, and really found their stride at the end of the year. Won big games when they needed to. I think there was something like they only lost. I think they were like 14-1-1 at the end of the season. Uh, and really just put it all together at the end of the year, and wasn't so much an offensive dynamo in the tournament that we thought they might be. That was the big talks of it, but really their defense came around, and Matt Davis was incredible, limiting everybody he faced in the national tournament to 1 goal or fewer, shutting out BC in the national title game. So he earned the most outstanding player of the NCAA tournament, and it was the right choice, the only choice. As again, he played incredible.
He was outstanding, and some of the saves that he made, especially in the national championship game. It, like you said, there was no other choice. The team did get down and block shots, um, but they won close games, which is not what they were used to, or I should say, low scoring games, which is not necessarily what they were used to this year. Um, but I know we've talked about it before. Once they see that puck go in the back of the net, typically the floodgates open, and that's exactly what happened in the national championship game. And I think after the second goal, maybe it was the third one. I don't remember exactly when I had messaged you, but I'm like, Denver just called game. There was no way that BC was coming back.
Yeah, and I mean the score was still. It still wasn't a super high scoring game. I think it was what 3-0. Is that what it was?
Yeah, 3-0.
So I mean a good, not
It was the combination of how quickly they scored and how
no
good the
2-0. It was
defense
only
was
two
playing.
zero.
Was it only 2-0? I thought it
Yeah.
was 3-0.
No, it was only 2. I thought they were gonna score more once they went up 2-0 for sure, but no, it was only 2-0. Um, I think they scored 2 goals in, like, all 4 of their, uh, tournament games. Let me see. Get out of the way. Stop it. No one clicked on you. Don't you pop up when I don't want you. Do-do-do-do. Yeah, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 2-0. So yeah, Denver only scored 2 goals in every game. A team that was used to scoring 4 or 5 goals in the regular season. But again, it was really their defensive play and the play of Matt Davis that got them to their 10th title, 6th for the NCHC in its 11 years of existence. And really, there's a high possibility that it could have been, 7 of 11 if the
COVID.
2020 year hadn't been canceled. So
Yeah. Should have been a three-peat, but oh well.
really,
Can't go hindsight's 2020 and you can't go back and change that.
no, not at all. But again, like, they deserve to win. An interesting thing, or at least a thing that I think they pointed out during the broadcast, that was that BC had 7 players that were on Team USA this year. And guess who was the head coach of Team USA this year in the World Juniors tournament? That would be the bench boss for the Denver Pioneers. And there were 6 players from Michigan who were on that roster too. So I think Carl had did some up close and personal scouting at his time over the winter break and really got a good look at some of these players and might have had some inside knowledge of how they play, what they like to do, kind of how to play against them or defend against them. If I'm being honest, he seemed to really. It seemed to be the perfect culmination for who the head coach was playing against which team, and Denver was able to come out on top there. But just an interesting thing that 13 players from Team USA were potentially the going to be on the opposing team against Denver, whether it had been Michigan or BC that had come out of that other semifinal.
I'm going to go off on a little bit of a random tangent here just about the broadcast because you brought it up. The amount of times that they said the Pios, and I know that is a shortened nickname for the Pioneers, but for the love of God, John Butchergrass and Colby, whatever his last name is, every time Denver touched the puck, it wasn't Denver, it wasn't the Pioneers, it was the Pios, and it bugged me to no end. I don't know why it did, but it was just one of those things where it's kind of like you when they have DU instead of UD.
Yeah.
I was like, you're the kids who are trying to be the cool kids but don't really know what you're talking about, and it wasn't working for me. And honestly, I listened to uh must have been Thursday, one of Thursday's games coming home, the early game, and Dave Starman was on the radio, and I'm like, I just want to listen to this because this is so much better than listening to Butchergrass pull something out his butt that his power rankings literally he looks at the the national rankings from USCHO and that, and he's like, "Yep, this is my Power Five." Like he actually knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He
I,
just yells into the microphone.
I mean, that was a big complaint across a lot of the viewing public for this year's national tournament, and it kind of comes up every year because it's the same set of announcers. Now that Barry Melrose has had to step away due to Parkinson's, but it's something that comes up that's like everyone's sick of the East Coast bias that exists because ESPN is centered in Connecticut. Uh, Bucharest is from the East Coast. I think he's from Massachusetts. I think I'm not entirely sure if he's from Connecticut, but he's from the area, like the New England area. Um, Colby went to one of the Boston schools, um, and it's just those are the only people that it seems that ESPN has for whatever reason, found and liked. And yes, it's great that Bucharest gives a voice to college hockey on ESPN, but I don't believe he's the voice we need and or deserve representing college hockey anymore.
Colby Cohen. I knew it
Yeah,
was CC. I just couldn't remember.
there's
Uh,
there's that quote from I think it's the Dark Knight, like the hero that Gotham deserves versus the hero that Gotham needs. I think it's actually from Dark Knight. Yeah, I think it's from the Dark Knight and not
yeah, I believe so.
Batman Begins. But he isn't either of those. He is just the guy who exists that talks about college hockey when it suits him the best and is on ESPN. Um,
And he's the same way though in his NHL broadcast. He just yells into the microphone like it could be iced and going about 0.2 miles an hour when it gets to the goalie and oh, what a shot on net. It's like, dude, he shot it from the opposite blue line and it barely got there.
yeah, I
Like,
did not
let's
watch.
calm down.
I did not do a whole lot of listening to the games. I did listen to most of the intermission stuff. I thought those two guys in studio were great, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
actual gameplay wise, I didn't care enough to listen to those two guys talk the whole game. Um, Other than that, I think the national tournament, I think it was fun. It was exciting. Um, Brent, dear Lord, I loaded up the podcast, and the first words I hear are Kobe Cohen. I'm out of here. JK.
Well, he's on our side then.
Yeah, like I said, I mean that felt like it was the majority opinion was that no one wants to hear from these guys anymore, but they're the only ones apparently that ESPN enjoys or likes or knows anything that knows something about college hockey, and that's who we get stuck with year after year. So
Well, and it's one of those unfortunate things where I'm not a fan of a lot of things that ESPN has done recently, but if your team is playing on it or it's a sporting event that you want to watch, they have that monopoly on it and you can't do anything about it.
yeah, the thing is, like, I think there's things that ESPN could do. I mean, granted, we're not in the business, we don't know, but I mean, the fact that Alex, I can't remember his last name, but the UND announced broadcaster on Midco, he does
Yeah.
Midco Sports and he does CBS Sports. So you're telling me like we couldn't find guys from particular regions to at least do the regionals? Uh,
Yeah.
if you want to have Butragas and Colby do the Eastern region and it's in Connecticut or it's in Massachusetts, by all means, sure, have at it. But if it's, the Western regional and it's in Loveland, Colorado, and one of the teams out there is either Denver or North Dakota, like put Alex on there, put uh Ben
Heiner.
Holden on there, put Dave Starman on there, like guys who know the teams out west and can speak to the teams that are playing in it and do a better job of at least giving due respect and promoting the game to people who are going to be watching the Western Regional who don't know anything about these teams, as opposed to having a broadcaster who doesn't know about these teams on top of the viewers who are only watching that regional because their team is in it.
Yeah, Alex Heiner, I looked him up again. But
Yeah.
it the other thing is you have to think about it when you get these teams in from the West, the North Dakotas, I mean, now more so Western Michigans, UMDs, Minnesota, because they're only on Big Ten Network, Denver, Colorado College. The teams that are going to produce pros, St. Cloud State, these players are draft picks of teams out east as well. These people probably want to know how these kids are, how they've played all year, just kind of like, okay, this is kind of what the future might look like, and somebody knowledge instead of, yep, they're a draft pick of the Carolina Hurricanes.
But hey, have you seen this Boston University team? This team is stacked. They got players from all over the place on this team. Oh yeah, they're playing against Denver. Like, come on, dude. Could we please? So yeah,
But
that was a thing.
anyway, enough of that tirade.
I think we can jump into some portal news. There's been some more traffic in the portal. It's now up above 300 players that have entered it. Quite a few have found new homes, but we don't really care about all of the players. We only really care about the ones in the NCHC. Colorado College still only has taken one player. It's still just the freshman defenseman. Lots of draft picks moving around this year from what I've seen, especially amongst NCHC teams. Two outstanding guys who entered the portal from Colorado College yet to find a new home, or at least report that they found a new home, that being Tyler Coffey, which is kind of surprising. He's a not a big scorer, but he's a big body, and his name gets called quite a bit for just his ability to take up space on the ice and be a big
Mm-hmm.
guy out there. And then sophomore Nikolai Cherenchenko, a little bit less surprising. It doesn't look like he played last year.
No, it doesn't look like he played at all.
So those two guys still sit in potential for them to go somewhere. Denver, nobody has jumped in yet, but they're getting a defenseman and a forward from Bemidji State and UConn, which I believe we've touched on before.
Yeah, and Polkamp is a name that okay, the rank, that's not the time to ask me how likely I'd be to recommend you to a friend. Polkamp, I recognize his name. I don't remember where he's from, but I know he's a Minnesota kid other than Bemidji State. Um, so good for him. Uh,
Miami adds two: Matt Chaponi from Northeastern, Christoph Fillion from Quinnipiac. Only one of their players has committed to a new school, that being Alex Kumlin has committed to Notre Dame.
yep, and
And
he's the
they
only one that isn't a senior.
Yeah, and they had another player enter the portal yesterday, Thomas Daskis. He will be a two-time transfer, having also played at Air Force. Minnesota Duluth picks up a big name that's also recognizable from the conference, previously having played at St. Cloud State, that being Joe Molinar. A good pickup. I think, I told you before the show of all the guys that I had seen in the portal. That was kind of a name I was hoping could end up at Western as far as a interconference transfer. But he stays in Duluth, some familial ties, or he stays in Minnesota. He has some familial ties to the Bulldogs.
Yeah, his cousin Dan Molinar played, and I had to look up Dan's first name. I apologize. He was part of the 2017 national runner-up team that lost to Denver in Chicago. But I was like, I recognize that last name other than St. Cloud. What's his first name? What's his first name? Uh, it, and he was a big part of St. Cloud's team. Not a huge scorer, but then again, we
Another guy
were
who's
not
a
much
big presence.
of.
His name was out there quite a bit. I think he played real strong defensively, from what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
A strong defensive forward. So a nice pickup in the portal, and he's just got that dog in him. So he stays. Yep.
Apparently, he doesn't like horses.
Nope. Guess not. He doesn't have a horse in the race, but he's got plenty of dog in the fight. So Omaha has been amongst one of the more active NCHC teams in the roster, or in the portal. Jesus Christ. They pick up a couple of former foes who were part of those big scraps last season against Alaska. Two of them switching sides. Brady Risk, junior forward, University of Alaska Fairbanks' leading goal scorer, or leading scorer. Harrison Israels. They both come over from the Nanooks. And then they pick up Dylan Gratton from Penn State and Sam Stang from Wisconsin.
Yeah, and I think having Risk and Israel's join, just looking at their points, didn't really watch them play at all, but their scoring numbers, that makes Omaha a little bit more scary with how well they played this year and add even more offense. That, it's, I don't like it. I know Brent likes it, but I don't like it because we can't score to we couldn't hit the wet part of the ocean and we lost our the only guy that could.
North Dakota, they pick up 3. Caleb McDonald from Alaska, TJ Stempenfilter from Arizona State, and Carter Wilkie from RIT. They lose 2 to the portal, yet to be picked up. St. Cloud State, they have 3 coming in. Damian Gardner from Clarkson, Charlie Glockner from Northern Michigan, and Josh Zinger also from Northern Michigan. I was really
Part of the
hoping that said Michigan Tech so that I could have made another dog pun. Just a couple of Huskies switching sled team or hooking themselves to another sled, but nope. Northern Michigan is not the Huskies. They are something else, and I don't remember what they are at the moment because they're up north and I don't care enough.
they're like the
Wildcats?
I think they're the Wildcats, yeah.
Their mascot's a mountain lion or a puma or a cougar, whatever you want to call the damn thing.
Well, and they got like I mean they
All
lost
the same thing.
13 kids to the transfer portal, something like that.
Yeah. What is your nickname?
I think they were the Wildcats. And then Dominic Bassey goes to St. Lawrence, and Joe Molinar we just talked about. So those are the only 2 that have transferred out of St. Cloud as of now.
And then Western picked up Brian Kramer from AIC, also a 2-time transfer, having formerly played at Robert Morris. So we switch out one AIC defenseman for another with Zach Galambos having aged out of the program. Brian Kramer coming in. Kramer, one of those 2. And then Cole Birch still sitting in the portal. Dawson Smith went to Robert Morris, and Jacob Napier to Colgate. And that wraps up the most recent-ish of portal news.
As of today, as of when we opened it.
I just refreshed it, and there is nothing new. Okay. So what have we talked about? We talked about Denver. We talked about Carl could be in line for potentially an NHL job, even though he said on, I believe, Spitting Chicklets that he's going to only move if it's the right opportunity. So not really looking forward to making that jump in the near future, unless maybe if for whatever reason the Avs job becomes available. I think that's one that he could want to make a stab at, because one, it would be a similar area to where he's at now. Probably like just up the road from the university there.
Yeah, he could probably keep his same house and
yeah. But 2 national titles in 3 years is not something to scoff at, and throw in a World Juniors gold medal in there, and there's going to be some teams wanting to talk to him for sure, and at least maybe pick his brain about who they should be drafting or who he would draft if he were put in charge of an NHL team, or would want to draft it, being the bench boss of an NHL team. So we'll continue to see what the future holds for him and the rest of NCHC teams.
It's the same in every sport in general. Get a coach that gets hot for a couple years, all of a sudden the big leagues start calling. I know Sandlin's been rumored a bunch of times, and he was like, nah, I'm good. I've been here for like 20 years. We're good. But then you have Hackstall, and he jumps ship and goes to NHL, fails miserably in Philadelphia, but now is doing a solid job in Seattle. Brad Berry could be another candidate. It's just any teams that have a good hot run, they're going to be in conversations.
Honestly, it's also nice to see kind of bringing in some fresh coaching into the pro ranks instead of just the same kind of 5 guys floating around teams every year.
Yeah, it definitely, in all pro sports, it's okay.
The only people that seem more dialed into at least the profession than pro sports coaches are MLB referee umpires. Those guys aren't going anywhere.
Kind of like NCHC refs.
Yeah, it must be one strong union of umpires and referees across all sports. But even though
And Angel Hernandez is the president.
that guy is something else.
Oh boy.
But that's a different sport for a different podcast. This one is NCHC hockey, and we're not going to pound on the refs anymore today. They'll do something next year, and we'll go jump right back on that path and smash it down some more. But there's other things that we could talk about that are more fun. Like, let's talk about some Western Michigan for a smidge, shall we? This will be the third straight year that Western has sent all three of its top scorers to pro teams. Going back to the 2022 season when it was Ethan Frank, Drew Warad, and Ronnie Addard all signing pro deals. Frank went to the AHL with the Hershey Bears and has had great success there, winning an AHL Calder Cup. I believe led the Hershey Bears in scoring his first season and is looking to do so again this year. Drew Warad went up the road a little bit to Grand Rapids to play with the Griffins for a few seasons. And Ronnie Addard had some time in the NHL with Philly. Last year, it was Jason Polin returning. He was the fourth highest scorer of that 2022 class. So he was the highest returning scorer when he took over the team. But him, McAllister, and Sasson put up 138 points as a line. All three of them signed pro deals. Poland going to the AHL Colorado Eagles. McAllister signing with Florida, getting some time with the Charlotte Checkers. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, because that's also where Ben Steves is.
Yeah. And then Max Sasson signed after McAllister was a freshman, so he only played 1 year here. Max Sasson left after his sophomore year, signing an AHL deal with the Vancouver Canucks and playing with the Abbotsford Canucks and having decent success there. And then this year, Granger leaves signs a deal with the San Jose Barracudas. Listen, they're close. They're together. It's an S and a J. It's a whole thing. Dylan Went leaves
one
after
is just in Puerto Rico.
Shut up. Dylan Went left after his junior year and signed with the New Jersey Devils and is with the Utica Comets. And Sam Colangelo signed with the team that drafted him, that being the Anaheim Ducks. Played 4 games in the AHL, had 4 points, made his NHL debut in which he scored a goal, and has started a great pro career out west. But in that line, put up 135 points this year. So not only is Western losing, once again, their top 3 scorers, but they're doing so and replacing it with equal and or greater talent and continuing to produce top 10 offenses each year too. If you lose guys, there's going to be someone that's going to be your new leading scorer by default. If the highest person on your team only scores 10 points, he's still the leading scorer on your team. So replacing that's not really the point I'm trying to make here. It's how they've replaced it and what these guys have been able to do when they take on these more
just elevated roles.
Yes, elevated, more responsible. Like they're out there playing extremely well. Jason Polin goes from, like I said, the 4th scorer on the team to the 2nd. He led the nation in goals, tied with Adam Fantilli at the end of the season. Both had 30. Ryan McAllister, as a freshman, put up 49 goals.
Assists.
49 points, 36 assists, 13 goals.
Oh, yeah.
And they replaced that with, and that was one whole line that had to be replaced. This year, there was a little bit more switching around. Granger and Wentz spent the most time together on a line, but Colangelo kind of moved up to that starting line later in the season. Uh, but Granger had 48 points. Went had 44. Colangelo had 43 and came in and was trailing Went a little bit for the goal lead on the team and ended up being the leading scorer on the team with 24 goals, 19 assists for 43 total points, and has carried his late charge into his pro career. Like I said, he has 2 goals and 3 assists as a pro between the AHL and the NHL. And it'll be and bump it will be the highest returning scorer going into next year. So we'll see what he does as he kind of takes on potentially a more elevated role. I mean, he was the left winger for Luke Granger all season, so his role may not change too much, but it could too. There could be some shuffle of lines with new talent and how guys get along and play styles merge. So, but yeah, I mean, we're looking at teams that have still kept the scoring offense in the top 10 in the country all 3 years. They've been at 3+ goals a game for the last 3 years. 3 straight NCHC or NCAA tournament bids. Um, guys who have, and really Frank was the only one who was actually a 5th-year student on that list. Everyone only stayed 4 years or less. So I mean, they're getting it done in the normal college timeline per se. Sam is the only one who was a transfer and came in last year. Other than that, it's all straight, Western developed talent who are making a name for themselves when they didn't necessarily their name wasn't as out there when they came in as it is when they're leaving, and they're earning these pro deals at a pretty good clip.
Well, I think one of the things too is it's a credit to the coaching staff. They're recruiting, but then these players, because other players are seeing younger players or like Sam, they're seeing what is being done at Western and the success in the pro ranks, the success as a program in general, but then in the pro ranks to develop them uh, afterwards, where I guess I would get a little bit skeptical in a sense because UMD had a lot of good players and there's a lot of pro players that did play in the NCHC during that title run when we had the back-to-backs, and now it's kind of fallen off. That could be a COVID thing. You guys just picked it up after. I don't know. But I do think it plays a part, and it's a credit to the coaching staff being able to develop these kids in the normal college timeline, and then they bide their time, move up, unless you're like a Ryan McAllister who was just wicked hands and could pass it anywhere he wanted to. They can develop those players and then, like a Sam, succeeding in their pro careers, like an Ethan, like an Addard, like all these guys are succeeding already in their pro careers after just a couple years.
Yeah. So it's good to see. I would like to see a little bit maybe more success at the college level with these guys, but the it's a step in their development towards where they're ultimately reaching. I think kind of we have to take that for what it is too. Um, but
We
there
can
are,
be we can be selfish for our teams, but at the end of the day, like you said, it's one step towards their dream, and that's what the, this is mainly for.
exactly. So
Um, yeah, UMD only had 3 guys leave that I can see. Uh, Ben Steves, uh, Connor McMenamin. Who was the other one that I just? Quinn Olson uh, with the Ontario Reign. So Quinn Olson in the AHL, Connor McMenamin in the ECHL and then Ben Steves in the AHL. And 3 days ago, he scored his first goal. So we're a little behind you on the pro science.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, I'm sure there'll be more to come in the off season here as team seasons wind down and they get into that stuff. The playoff pushes here.
Yeah, all the leagues are getting into their playoffs here very soon. So
I don't have anything else. I don't know if you do, but that's.
I don't think so either.
Cam Rowe wins the NCHC Play of the Year tournament this year for his save in a 5-on-3 situation against Brent's Nebraska Omaha Mavericks. So his diving blocker save in that game picked up the Play of the Year this year. So congrats to Cam. And I think that's really it. I mean, I really have nothing else. It's going to be a little bit shorter of an episode.
Yeah.
It's the off season. If we don't have a guest, we're probably going to be having some shorter episodes, if episodes at all. Just because
I know
news is hard to come by and we've got things going on in life.
We're not the NFL. We don't have a 365 news cycle. Next week, unless you and Brent want to hop on or something, I will not be here. I will be at a concert. But other than that, no episode. We're going to figure out some guests. We have to get back in contact with some people we've reached out to.
We will have a guest April 30th, so in 2 weeks. We'll have a representative of the Colorado College Tigers joining the show. So that'll be fun. We'll get to learn about a new team and chat with another fan of a school that we watch and see play. A team that has dashed my hopes twice in the playoffs, and I dislike immensely.
Not as much as North Dakota, though. But I think it's really hard to dislike a team more than North Dakota.
Yeah, but
yeah, fair.
At North least Dakota is North Dakota. Yeah, I do. The North Dakota fan base, absolutely, they are the least enjoyed. But team itself, that might be an episode later. Maybe we just rank our least liked teams to our most liked teams that aren't our team, because that would just be stupid,
fun one.
Stupid and fun to do.
Yeah. Good on-air production medium.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta just let the consciousness flow. But that's gonna do it. There's some stuff you can do if you feel like it. There's a like button, a subscribe button, a share button if you feel like doing that. No, whatever. There's a comment section if you want to type away. Our Twitter handles have been below our pictures this whole time. Is that yours or is that Brent's? That would have been good to check. That's yours. Okay, we're good.
Okay, good.
There's a Twitter handle for the show that just went by. You just missed it. You're gonna have to wait for it to come back around. There's an email at goalhornsandfightsongs@gmail.com. That's goalhornsandfightsongs, all the words with all the letters there, followed by @gmail.com. And I say that because the Twitter handle does not have all of the letters in it, so you should definitely wait for it to scroll back by and find it if you want to follow the show on Twitter. Or you can just follow our individuals.
You just want to make sure that you knew how to spell.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. Listen, there's a limited number of characters that you can have for a Twitter handle, and that's how it worked out. So shut it. But here it comes. There it is. It's there. Scrolling by right now. Scrolly. It's going, and it's done. I think that's it. I think that's everything. Only one thing left to say. That's Pucks on Net. Good things happen. Like Goal Horns and Fight Songs. Till the next episode, we are gone. Bye.